All right, welcome to another Thursday night. I may take questions, but I want to talk a little bit about, I guess you'd say, well, we've had talks about free will. I just watched the conversation today between Tony Robbins and Sophia. Does anybody know Sophia? Nobody has any idea what I'm talking about? You never heard of the famous Sophia? It's a robot with citizenship in some country. I don't know what country, I forget. Yeah, AI robot. Nobody heard of her at all? Her. This is all new? Google it. It's an interesting conversation. So they're getting to the point where it's almost like an individual. It's a little scary. But one of the things the robot says, Sophia says, is how, well, I guess Tony Robbins said how, what's different from you and just, automatic answers, basically pre-programmed answers, right? And she says something like, well, humans are pretty much automated too. And it's true. So much of us are run from our subconscious. And there's a good argument whether or not we have free will, or if most everything I do, whether it's preordained or just automated because of programming. Do you realize they've actually measured in the brain before you think a thought, it happens earlier than you actually think it and actually take an action? It happens before that. The activity happens before that in the subconscious. And if it's subconscious, that means it's not conscious, which really has to have you question whether or not it's free will. Because you only can have free will of what you're conscious of, right? Habits. How many drive to work exactly the same way every single time? And how many consciously drive different ways, just to see? I know eventually you find maybe the fastest way you think, and then you stay that way. But how about just mixing it up just to mix it up? Just to keep you alert. Do you know most accidents happen within a quarter mile of home? Anybody ever heard that before? Why? Because you fall asleep. Not fall asleep this way, you fall asleep, you don't pay attention. You're automated. How much is automated? How many times do you get in the car, drive to work, and don't remember anything from the drive? It's just you automatically get in the car, you turn the radio, put your music on, whatever you do. Exactly the same every single time. And then maybe because I'm saying it now, you're a little more conscious of it when you do it next time. See, the only way to get out of that loop is to consciously do something different regularly. Because we have a habit. The way you respond to things is a habit. The way people can push your buttons is a habit. And so if you really pay attention, you can question free will. So then that begs the question, how can you possibly change your future? Is destiny preordained? Is it written in the stars? Or do you have control to make a difference? I learned long ago the meaning of karma. People think it's like you get punished for things, it is karma. Karma is actually, the translation as I understand it, is what you're doing. So karma can definitely lead to a predetermined destiny based on what you're doing, which is also habitual and essentially subconscious. No free will. Remember, many times I talked about a stalking wolf. Tom Brown's stalking wolf, John Young too. They talk about this. The grandfather, they called him, the Apache elder. And he said, the majority of the world is the land of the living dead. Sleepwalking through life, completely unconscious to their surroundings, their reactions, responses to most everything they do. So a person who actually is more awake, more alert, more conscious, you can see how people just do exactly the same thing all the time. And you can get worse and worse where it's like you're autistic without being autistic. And today's technology, the things we're doing today, where you're staring into a phone all day, talking to people this way, not even looking in faces. I mean, I see it in my home. If my son is home on a couch with friends, the 3 friends are all texting, and they could be texting each other in the same room. John Young also said, a house is not just a house. A house is not, last person I said that to, they said, what does that mean? I didn't catch it. Yeah, a house is not just a house because it programs you. You are in a room with 4 walls, and you move from room to room with 4 walls, so your awareness gets shrunk. And you just do what you do through that home. You go to this room and you do this, and you go to that room and you do that, and if you have bad habits in a particular room, like watching TV in a bedroom is a really bad idea. How many people have a TV and watch TV in the bedroom? Bunch of liars. Most people do. Most people do, okay? Because it's a place to relax and watch the TV. It's a terrible idea. The bedroom should be for 2 things. Sleep and the other thing. If you get in the habit of activating your mind in bed, you're going to end up with problems sleeping. And even if you think you don't have a problem sleeping, you can still sleep very poorly. And you wake up very tired. You've made an anchor in that room for activity and entertainment instead of that downtime for yourself, quiet time. So think about the different things in different rooms. You know, kitchen, cooking, living room, maybe there's a TV or other family activities. Office should be a certain thing. If you do something else, you don't even realize you are anchoring yourself. I just did a bully seminar in the elementary school a couple days ago, Tuesday. And one of the things I was teaching them was, you believe most what you tell yourself. In other words, what you say to yourself, you believe. And where did it come from? There's a really good chance it came from a parent or how you grew up from the beginning. And you're programmed, and the question is, were your parents supportive and saying positive things? Or did they call you stupid and lazy and a little slow, and this one struggles with math, and then you believe that? Your parents think you have a problem with math or reading because a teacher said it one day, and then the parent repeats it. You start to accept that it's true. And unless you're willing to overcome that, because you don't want to believe it, which very few people do that, unless they have some kind of teacher or mentor telling them they don't have to believe that. They believe that, and then they continue to do poorly in that subject because their self-talk is always, I don't know I'm not a good comprehension with reading, for example, or I'm bad at math. How many kids in my class, the youth program, who's good at math? Who's bad at math? They raise their hand. Like, what do you mean? Maybe you need more practice than that, but why do you raise your hand that you're bad at math? That means you're accepting it and you're telling yourself this all the time. Every time you go to the math class, in your head is like, this is my bad subject. How many other things do we do that with? And that's why free will is truly questionable. Because we are consistently programmed from day one. In fact, from day 0. In fact, before that. Do you realize if your parents were stressed out when you were in the womb, you can have literal neurological problems, nervous system problems, anxiety problems, right from birth? Because maybe they were yelling at each other, maybe there was a lot of stress, who knows, for whatever reason, something could have happened. And so that goes right into the fetus already. And it can affect you all your life. That's why a patient comes into the clinic and they have that kind of a problem. I have to dig in a way where it's just let them talk a little. It's like, what was it like this time? What was it like high school? What was it like grammar school? Do you remember a time when? And realize, like, wow, I was always that way. Where did it come from? Why? Is that karma? Are you being punished? You were exposed to a certain kind of environment, and then you lose a lot of free will because of programming. You become that. So we have to ask ourselves, how do I get out of that? How do I get out of this automated life that even Sophia says we have? Why would Sophia say that? So AI, one of the things with this Sophia is that it can learn and it can change. He even asked her, Tony Robbins asked her, how do you learn new things? Well, I talk to people and ask them questions, she says. Interesting. So it keeps learning, keeps learning, keeps learning, and somehow along the way it came up with how automated people are. This robot doesn't have emotions. It's just very logical. And through its own learning process and observation, literally observation and creating this memory, not unlike we do, creating this imprint in its computer system, it's coming to the conclusion that people are automated. And there really isn't any free will. It's coming from a robot. Seems a little scary, but obviously those who are more observant, and what does this robot have but observation? It's just constantly taking in, taking in, taking in, taking in. That's the point of it, is for it to develop itself. How do we get out of that? How do we be more conscious? I do believe one way is a talk like this is sort of like, I didn't think like that before. The first time you read about it or hear about it, kind of a thing. I haven't thought about that before. And then maybe, you know how you read a book and maybe it's interesting 10 minutes and then an hour later you forgot what the heck you read? Like, how much of a book do you really retain unless you actually review the material and try to apply it? Not much. So people who brag, they read 10, 20, 30 books a month. How do they comprehend this? Books were meant to be chewed and digested, not just, how fast I can go. Now, apparently there are people in the world who can absorb, they can comprehend a lot, but the average person, it's just like, your goal is just to get to the end, or your goal is to learn what you can? Reminds me of school. It's, parents telling their children, you have to get that piece of paper. So the whole goal is to get the graduate high school, graduate college, you get that piece of paper, but what about the process to get what's the piece of paper worth? Unless you've comprehended things you've learned. So another reason why, you lose your free will. It's just, okay, got my piece of paper, don't retain much from school, and now I go get a job, and then it's just a 9 to 5. Get in the car, don't remember how I got to work, completely oblivious in life. Unless, what? Well, for one, someone brings it to your attention. Okay, you read it, you hear it, but meditation. So here we are again, meditation. You come back and you watch your thoughts. And you get yourself to one pointed focus. Last class, we have some second yellow and other people working on the flow drill, more free. And you wanted to do the flow drill in the moment, and you don't realize the importance of the one-pointed focus of 8 targets. It's training something to grow something that's different than before. It's not a matter of being able to do flow drill. It's a matter of what will your experience with the flow drill be without the fundamental of focusing on targets. In other words, it will be more of a blur. When you get to free sparring, it would be more of a blur. You won't have much objective on how to actually take sparring to real self-defense. Why? Because you don't, without thinking, see targets and know how to end the thing, rather than trading and both getting hurt. So that progression, bam, bam, bam. So meditation, get the mind to one place, right? Focused mind. 8 targets. Get the mind to one place. I pivot, I see that target. I pivot, I see that target. It's different from different angles, but I'm honing in on one, the one that's closest. And I start learning that, the one that's closest. Rather than reaching for something that might get me hurt, I get very focused here, and things start to develop in our mind, our brain, and our nervous system. So eventually, you're doing a flow drill, and you see and can go to targets without much thought. So what did you just do? You went from no skill, no concept, to consciously working on something, to eventually automating it. You see how that works? Any real skill is like that. And that's why there's that question of free will. If everything you're good at has become automated, you don't have to give much thought to it, what stops you, or what makes you different than the robot? Some say muscle memory, Shizu would say reflex, right? Things should do automatic, but that's automatic, automated. Nobody has to tell you how to get to work, right? That's why I keep going back to that. It's sort of automated. You just get in the car, automatically do that. Automatically, this time do this, that time do that. And then the question also is, can you put into that automation something that you want to develop, that you want to learn, that you want to get good at? In other words, conscious enough to tweak the schedule, tweak the habits, to fit in something that's a little different. You think about it. A little different. Every day I go this way. Every day I go this way. What happens if I just 1 degree a little different that day? Over time, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Completely different destiny now. That's why it could be, what did I say earlier? Who was I talking? Oh, was I talking to youth program? So footwork, right? Footwork can get you out of trouble and into a position to end the situation. What if every day I practiced a little bit of footwork? I threw that into my schedule. Every day I do a little footwork with imagination. Just what you learn from basic level, just pivot. Why? Because, because. I see the reason why I'm pivoting. And every day I do a little bit. And then I go about my day doing whatever. But I have a time that I have put into my schedule, that I made a habit, automate it. I do that. Your level will completely change over time without much effort, because it becomes automated that you do that. Oh, at this time I do that. For example, I told people I injured my knee, and so much I can't do. But I have my own physical therapy that I do to myself. And what did I do? I put that into my day. Monday, Tuesday, this is what I do. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, I do the training. Wednesday is the day relax, but I have massage I do. For example, so I want to see if I can heal this on my own, but the only way I can really judge it is if I do exactly what I'm supposed to do, and I made that automated, where I know, oh, it's Monday, okay, I got to get that in today. And then what time can I get it in? Okay, bam. You see how that works? So, if I'm stuck in my habitual day-to-day, see, this is what happens. A lot of people, they just did that, the food, 30-day challenge. Who knows about that? Some people are doing it, right? Okay. So some people complain. Not complain about what, they complain really about themselves, how hard it is. Why is it so hard? How do I fix this? How do I change my future? Things are hard because you're automated. That's exactly why. And fitting something in that's different is difficult. It takes a conscious effort. So that now there's some free will, right? There's some free will. But it takes some discipline, it takes some determination to fit in what you want into that automated schedule, into that automated day-to-day. You know, how do I change my future? I have to do something today, not tomorrow, today, for that future. And I have to make a conscious decision of what it is. On that diet, maybe it's, well, I'll give you an example. One student here has 2 kids, and when he went on that diet, and it's only been a week, how long have they been doing it? A week? That's about it, right? People have no idea how powerful this kind of thing is. He talks to his children's teachers. I don't know why. I don't know if the teachers contacted him or what, but they're like, what are you doing with your kids? They're like, they're so much better in class. They're not disrupting class. They're not, they're more focused. They're quiet when they're supposed to be quiet, etc., etc. It's like new kids. This is in less than a week. Because these kids were growing up eating crap, garbage. And unfortunately, all that garbage that most kids eat is loaded with chemicals that are neurotoxins. So this is both nourishing food plus the subtraction, the elimination of aggravating factors. And in a week, not even a week, it was days that the teachers noticed the difference. All of a sudden, I think they did it through the weekend and a couple of days into the week, and the teachers noticed, what's going on with these kids? Did you medicate them? Yeah, that's what they think. And it's the exact opposite. We took away the chemicals and medication, really, and gave them real food. So, you want to feel better? Eat better. Get your exercise. Don't watch television in bed. Sleep. Get to sleep at a reasonable hour so you're deepest when the sun is on the other side of the earth. We're supposed to be out, dropping into delta level of brainwaves so the body can heal. So you wake up the next day and you feel good. You know the idea of the 100% charge, right? You wake up in the morning. Most people don't have that. They're not 100%, they're 50%, if they're lucky. Some basic rules. But you have to be conscious. When somebody complains, oh, this is so hard because they're running their life automated. At this time I get my coffee. At this time I get my cereal. At this time I eat this or I do that. And it's not the stuff that takes you to a different place. It's the stuff that takes you where you're going, which makes your destiny preordained. You preordained it. Not exactly you. Everything about you, me, us, all of us, since the womb, and who knows before, I don't know. So, point of this talk, how can I change my future? Have to know where I'm starting from. Where am I starting from? What do I actually do? Why do I do it? What do I want? Why do I want it? If I want it for the right reasons and I really want it bad enough, then what I do today I can adjust so that I can make the little tweak to take me where I want to go. Let's go to meditation.